I never thought I'd hear myself saying this in 2021, but I think it's time we all ditch our cell phone service providers and switch to Boost Mobile. Nah, I'm just kidding. This is not a sponsored video, but stay tuned and check everything out that we talk about in Cardano Summit. And by the end of this video, I promise you will understand why all of us might want to switch to Boost. Let's go. So just in case you've been living under a rock, Cardano Summit 2021 just wrapped. The main purpose of Cardano Summit was to announce a bunch of these strategic partnerships that Cardano was joining in. And my goal in this video is to break down what those partnerships actually mean, because if you don't really feel like reading research papers or sitting through some of the super long announcements, this will be a great resource for you to just pull the favorite partnerships and understand what they mean in very simple terms. So let's go ahead and get into the video and check out my favorite partnerships. So most of you at this point have probably heard of Chainlink and what it actually is. So what Chainlink actually is an oracle. So what that means is that it brings in the outside data to blockchains. Blockchains don't really have any offline data. They're not built that way. They have to rely on oracles to bring things in. And Chainlink at this point supplies about 70% of the DeFi network. So that means that what Chainlink does is goes and pulls in these price feeds for the different crypto prices. I've seen people ask me in the comments what crypto pairings are all about and what it actually means. So all that means is Bitcoin's price relative to USD or AUD. And they use something like Chainlink to actually pull that data in to a blockchain ecosystem or to a decentralized application to be used in whatever way. It doesn't have to be price feeds. It can also be the weather. It can be anything. So I'll give a very simple example. Imagine that I was trying to develop like a decentralized gambling app and I needed like sports scores and the weather. So what if I had like a bet set up to where if it was raining in the game and they won by 3 points, I would get X amount of dollars. What oracles like Chainlink do is basically go and grab those scores from outside sources as well as that weather data, pulls it into my decentralized application in a secure manner. And then I can have a smart contract execute the payments and those things as well. But the great thing about it, Chainlink also integrates with financial institutions as well. So I could very easily set up a basic smart contract and a decentralized application to do those things just using Chainlink. So that's a very simplified way of how they work. So a super cool thing that doesn't get talked about a lot when it comes to Chainlink is that they can actually provide verified on-chain randomness. It sounds weird when I say it, you're like, what the heck is verifiable on-chain randomness? So let's kind of talk about it. Let's say that I'm a NFT creator and I actually want to do a mint or launch a project, but I want to make sure that these actual assets and NFTs get randomly assigned to wallets. So right now, I'm sure if you've even been part of an ADA project, you'll see how painful that is. And a lot of it is actually manual, where they're just sending these random NFTs out. That's why a lot of these ADA drops take forever. So what Chainlink is going to allow you to do is to do that verified on-chain randomness. And you can literally have Chainlink grab the information and shoot that out to wallets by integrating Chainlink into your smart contract. So that's going to actually speed up NFT drops and make it easier for you to mint. So besides all the offline data like the weather and price feeds and things like that, I'm super excited for that verifiable on-chain randomness with Chainlink with this partnership. The only thing it makes me really think about and worry is that I do have a whole lot of Charlie or Charlie 3, which is the oracle that was supposed to be the main mover on Cardano. But now that Chainlink is in there, I don't really know where Charlie 3 or C3 is going to stand in this whole thing. So I'm almost tempted to change my Charlie 3 to Chainlink, but I'm just going to stand by and see if I can find out more information about this Chainlink integration. Because like I said before, Chainlink is that main mover and connector to provide that interoperability between different blockchains. So remember, you can also build bridges on top of Chainlink as well. So this is going to allow for me to build a Dapps that'll be able to work on Ethereum and Cardano and Solana, so on and so forth, by having that oracle pulling that data back and forth. So it's super exciting and it's only going to help the Cardano ecosystem grow. I'm just super surprised they went with Chainlink because I thought they were a competitor, but I think Chainlink tries to be agnostic when it comes to blockchains, and they pulled off a major win by getting Cardano, but it's mutually beneficial. They already have partnerships with a ton of Dapps. They've done this thing before on other blockchains, so it should be easier to get up and going and actually put some use to those smart contracts that we're waiting to use on Cardano. All right, now let's jump in and have a chat about Coti. I think I've briefly talked about Coti before, but Coti is all about payment systems and integrating them with your decentralized applications. Let's talk about why this partnership with Cardano and Coti is super important. So let's just quickly go to the website, and it talks about how Coti actually provides all the necessary elements for a perfect payment infrastructure. I'm just going to expand more on the important ones. So scalability is super huge. As you can see, over 100,000 transactions per second, and normally it's about 25,000 or so transactions per second on normal payment systems. Don't have to spend too much time on that. We just see how fast and scalable it is. We like that in our payment systems, and it's super important if you're going to be running a whole businesses processing multiple transactions at once through this platform. Simplicity is a given, and cost effectiveness is super important. But the cost effectiveness of Coti is actually all about cutting out the middleman and helping reduce fees, which we'll talk about in a little bit in a second. And then it talks about price stability, which is like allowing us to create things like our own stable coins, which I'm going to scroll down to in a second and spend a lot of time on that, because that's the actual partnership with Cardano and Coti was to actually create Djed, which is going to be the stable coin on Cardano. But having a look at it, things like Coti Pay, and they can actually interface with every payment system you can think about, from crypto to credit cards, or to even like a merchant's native stablecoin as well, or jumping in and providing interest on deposits and things like that as well with Coti Pay if you were to use it. This is super interesting for me because it talks about a white label payment network. So I'll give you an example. I've used Stripe before. I used PayPal when I was doing other businesses, and you just have all these crazy fees that I have to incur by going through these services. Like, it just gets ridiculous. Like, sometimes it doesn't sound like 1.9, 2 to 3% is a lot until you actually start going in and bringing large transactions and large monetary amounts through those systems. You see how quick those fees can add up. And for me, running a business is all about margins. So it's easier for me to understand my margins when I can eliminate the fees, or even have a stable coin that's pegged to something like USD, so I can have a little bit more fee transparency for myself and my customers. And that's something that I could do if I jumped in and just created my own white label payment network that use things like Chainlink and Coti to actually bring me all the price information and exchange rates that I need to run that. So, and then of course, this is the main one right here, where it talks about actually making your own stable coin using Coti. And that's exactly what Cardano did with Djed by allowing it to tie its own stable coin together. And like I said, lowering down those transaction costs and price stability are the main ones. So now let's jump over and actually look at Djed and the partnership with Coti and what they're actually going to do. So like I said, it's going to be a stable coin that's based on algorithmic design. So all that means is that it uses smart contracts to ensure stability, because what you want, if you want a stable coin that's pegged to USD, you want to make sure that it stays pegged without drifting. So it goes in and uses that smart contract to make sure everything stays lockstep, so we can use that stable coin. Djed is going to be used for paying those transaction fees on the Cardano network. And the major benefit of that is just that price stability. So we all know that cryptocurrency isn't stable. It's like a freaking roller coaster. Every time somebody asks me, should they actually move from stocks over to crypto? I'm like, how would you feel if you see your account drop 80% in one day? And based on their expression, I give them the next line of advice. If they grimace, I'm like, nope. Invest in mutual funds, stay with stocks. Like, it's not, you can definitely see your account dip or shoot up super high in the crypto world. So with that level of volatility, you want to make sure that if you're actually paying these transaction fees or things that you're going to have to pay over and over again in a business, you want to keep them level. So for me, business is all about margin. So the more I understand of how my fees are going to be calculated and what they're going to be, it allows me to actually do forecasts for my business so I can understand my margins and actually run a profitable business. So with this, what Djed is going to be used for is simply to pay gas fees and things like that. that to keep everything level. So if the Djed is tied to US dollar, I know it's going to cost me $1 every time that I do that. Of course, it can scale based on usage, but it's a very simple thing to understand. I don't have to worry about gas fees being like Uber surge pricing and just shooting up based on the usage of the network. So that is why I'm excited about the Coti and Cardano partnership to create the Djed stablecoin, and why it makes sense. It's going to help us keep everything stable and transparent and better accurately participate in the ecosystem without worrying about all of those crazy fees. Now let's tie everything together with the one on paper that looked a bit weird when I seen it, the Dish/Boost network partnership with Cardano, because I was like, why in the hell are they partnering with Boost Mobile and Dish Network? But when I actually did my research, it made a lot of sense. I think we actually have to start with talking a little bit about Prism before we jump into this actual partnership, so it all makes sense. So Prism is a very exciting project that's all about digital identities, or creating a digital identity solution for Cardano or any network that can be used by us, the consumer, and businesses to give us a verifiable and super secure digital identity. I feel like I'm a techie person, right? I'm super comfortable with passwords and using tech. I'm an early adopter of everything, but even I get frustrated when I have 50 different passwords that I have to use due to that notification that you'll see on your iPhone that says that your password's been used or compromised, and you got to go through and change like 100 of them. I just started making all these super complex, annoying ones over time, and it's a pain in the butt. So what Prism would allow me to do is to have a decentralized identity that lives on Prism, and I can just share that with organizations without having to give it to them and put my social security number in and send them pictures of me holding passports and babies and all kind of other random stuff. Prism would just be a trusted, decentralized digital identity that I could use to do whatever the heck I wanted to do with it, whether that's signing up for a DeFi platform, applying for a loan, buying a house, buying a car, whatever the hell. Hopefully in the next 10 years, if it goes the way we planned, we'll have that decentralized identity that we actually control, that we don't have to hand over to organizations. We can literally just say, tick a button, provide access to Wells Fargo for the next 24 hours or whatever of that identity to do whatever they need to do to verify who I am inside of there. So that is super exciting. That is Prism. Now let's talk about why that matters when we dive into this Dish Network/Boost Mobile partnership. So what I didn't know is that Boost Mobile is actually pretty progressive. They have about 8 million or so active users, which is growing super fast. And they were one of the first companies, being Dish Network, to allow customers to pay in Bitcoin as of like 2014. So they've actually always been cutting edge when it comes to being early disruptors in tech. So we already know that networks are nothing without users or people, right? That's what a network is all about, connecting people. And we know that telcos are all about connecting people, especially with Boost Mobile being a tier 1 telco. They're all about connection. And that's what crypto in its essence is really about, is building communities and connecting people together. So when you actually look at it, there's a bit of synergy between the telecommunications company and a crypto platform like Cardano. So let's talk about why they're connected. So one example that they actually used when I was watching a video from Cardano Summit was actually their rewards program. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. Rewards programs. So what one of the guys from Boost actually pointed out is that American Airlines loyalty program is worth about $30 billion in consumer value. And right now that's like a walled garden, right? You can only use those points to either get flights or maybe in whatever partnerships with rental cars or complementary businesses that make sense to use your points. You can't take them and convert them to cash or crypto or anything else. What that's actually going to allow for is for developers to build on top of Cardano these cool Dapps, and then they can be hosted on, let's say, like the Boost Mobile App Store or inside the Boost Mobile ecosystem, and we can use our rewards points to actually engage in those little universes. Imagine a little game that you play that you use your reward points to level up your character at a very basic level. And if we're thinking about DeFi, what if I earned a ton of rewards points for interacting within the Boost Mobile ecosystem, and I could take those and actually stake them in a DeFi platform and earn more interest on my reward points, or better yet, I could actually convert them over to ADA and then buy ADA NFTs or just exchange them out for cash very simply without incurring any penalties. That's the power of this partnership between Boost Mobile and Cardano and everything that Cardano comes with now, with chainlink, with Prism providing those identities as well. So the cool thing about any of these apps that are going to be inside of this ecosystem is that if they use a Prism, I'll be able to use that same decentralized digital identity that I had set up before with the Prism, meaning that I can easily share my identity with these organizations because those organizations aren't responsible for securing my identity. That's all decentralized with the Prism, and I feel a lot more comfortable having that on the blockchain as opposed to random company servers all over the internet. And this is just akin to when you can sign in with Google or Facebook when you're logging in on these different services, right? It'll just be click log in with the Prism. But the beautiful thing about this, if it takes off the way it should take off, a Prism or some decentralized identity solution will be everywhere, and I'll be allowed to just go in and log in across the internet with that digital solution. I'm really harping on the Prism and digital identities because I just feel like it's stupid that I have a social security card, this birth certificate that I can hardly find when I need to sign up for something that's still paper that one of my kids can easily rip up and ruin at any time. Like, we need to get digital, and I feel like the blockchain is the answer in a decentralized manner. So I'm very bullish on the Prism and the things that it can do to help us out in a partnership like this with Dish Network and Cardano. So remember, Chainlink is very focused on interoperability amongst different blockchains. So very simply, Chainlink can allow for this whole system where these Dapps are going to be built in this ecosystem. So Chainlink can very easily allow for your digital identity or any of these apps that are going to be built within this Boost Mobile Dish Network partnership with Cardano to be ported over to Ethereum or any other blockchain network to actually speed up that interoperability, which is going to in turn help these products scale at a lot faster rate than kind of playing in a walled garden. Like when I was watching the video, Charles used that example of Microsoft when they actually started to open up more and create things for Mac and release iOS apps and things like that, how they're able to really quickly grow to over a $2 trillion market cap by allowing for interoperability. The reason why I'm super bullish on Cardano is that I'm big on community, and I think Cardano starts with community first, instead of thinking about, okay, how can I lock everybody into this one service? And it's another reason why I really love crypto, because I think crypto isn't about locking you into one service. It's about giving you that choice and giving that power back to the user in a decentralized and secure manner. So that was just a quick rundown of the actual Cardano Summit and some of my favorite things that we talked about. So if you want to take a deep dive and check out Cardano NFTs, check out my playlist right up here. Until next time, this is your friendly neighborhood FUD fighter, Michael T. Ragland, signing off. Peace.